everybody, it's Christy back with another video, and today we are going to make 4 easy Mother's Day cards. So these could be for your mom. You could easily do these for a grandparent, or a lot of them could even be translated for any female in your life that you really care about. They could even translate to thinking of you cards. Only one of them, this one here, is going to spell the word mom, but other than that, the other 3 card ideas are pretty gender neutral, could be used in lots of ways. So I always try to find kind of versatile card ideas when I give you guys some card plans. So let's go ahead and talk about supplies today. I am using a Legion Aqua Cold Press block of paper. It's a 7x10. I have it divided into 4 equal pieces that will be 3.5 by 4 3/4. So that will fit nicely on an A6 card, with there being a little bit of extra room there. And I have my paint palette here that has my Daniel Smith, Sennelier, my Mary Blue. Like, this is my artist grade palette that I just kind of keep at my desk that I really like. And I've got some paint brushes here. I just grabbed my round brushes because they're what I like the best. I've got a Princeton Heritage round number 6 here. That's synthetic. I've got a Rosemary and Company pointed red dot number 10. And I have a Royal and Langnickel Menta number 4. And just, I might pull out other brushes. I don't think I'm going to need them. I have 2 water cups up here. And I have a Blackwing pencil here that I use to sketch. So ahead of time, I sketched a heart in this square. I sketched generally out the word mom because we're going to put a flower in the middle of it. This one's really simple. This is going to be a bouquet of flowers, so I didn't sketch it, but I did pre-plan it on a little piece of paper. I can show you guys that. So like, that's basically what it's going to look like. I decided not to do this one, but that's just a little idea of what my cards look like sometimes when I pre-plan. And yeah, and then I sketched some ice cream cones up here. And again, everything's really nice and loose. Nothing is super serious. And let's go ahead and get started. So I think that I'm going to start up here actually with my blank space. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a peony because I love peonies. Who doesn't? We're going to get like a nice, pretty reddish pink going over here. Kind of combining a few of my pinks up here. Maybe a little alizarin crimson in with that. Yeah, I like that color. So we will water that down just a little bit more so that I have something nice and loose. And then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to put my peony in first. A little bit. There we go. And I'm just trying to make it pretty nice and loose. I like to start with kind of a loose flower, and then sometimes I'll fill in some of the details. Okay, that's looking pretty good for the peony. I'm just making C curves there. I don't do anything terribly special with my peonies. Just trying to get a nice pretty flower in. I'm going to tap some pigment in at the bottom there. And then I think I'm going to do like a rose down here. So we're going to do a front facing rose right here, and then we'll fill in with some tulips. So I think for that one, I'm going to use a little more of a, let's see, it's a rose. Maybe I'll do a golden rose because I love yellow roses. I think they're so pretty. So I don't know. I just have some yellow here on my palette. I'm going to kind of get that going. And then we'll just go ahead and do a yellow rose down here. So like a little curve in the middle. And then you just want to make C curves gradually getting a little bit bigger. Nothing terribly crazy, and I usually try to use more water as I go outward so that we kind of blend out as we go, kind of like that. And again, just more C curves. And these are the kind of flowers that take some practice. So this one might be a little bit more of an advanced card. That's why we're going to start with it. So if you want something a little simpler, you might want to go a little bit later in the video. I'll try to remember to timestamp stuff. All right, so there is my yellow rose. I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to put a few tulips in here. So let's do, let me think here. Let's do some, I think I'm going to do like some red tulips. I think that would be really pretty. So I'm going to grab my pretty cadmium / primary red, and I'm just going to dip it right here in this corner of the pink to cool it down just a tiny bit. And then I'm just going to put some tulips in all over. So whenever I do a tulip, I just do a big C curve like that. Whoops, sorry about that. And then like a smaller C curve on the other side. So it kind of looks like that. And then you can fill in the other side if you want, but I'm not going to. And then I'm going to do one that's kind of coming up here. Like that. And again, I'm just kind of hinting at shapes. I'm not doing anything terribly crazy. And I might do one more kind of up here, a smaller one. Like that. Maybe that's a little bit more closed. Okay, and I'm going to let that dry before I start to enter the greens into it. I don't really want anything that's going to bleed today, I don't think. I'm happy with that. And then I'm also going to go in with some little purple buds, but I want to let it dry. All right, so now I'm going to pick up my bigger brush and we'll work on the heart, and then we'll work towards the other sides here. So let's look at the heart. I'm going to take my clean water and my clean brush, and I am going to load this entire thing up with water. You want it to be pretty wet for this technique. This is probably one of the easier cards that we're going to do. I just think this would turn out really pretty. And you do want a metallic paint for this. So I should have mentioned at the beginning, I will make sure to maybe go back in and throw that on the screen somewhere, that you want a metallic paint for this. You could do something similar without metallic paint, and I'm sure it would look really nice. But the saying on this card is going to require a metallic paint. All right, so now I'm just going to drop some colors in. I think I'm going to go for something that leans a little bit cooler and kind of pretends like there's flowers. So we'll pick up this purple color, this mauvey color that I think it is a Sennelier Cobalt Violet. And I'm just going to drop little puddles of it, almost like it's flowers, but not really. And then I'm going to pick up this cobalt turquoise, a really pretty blue color. And you could do this with any colors you want. And I'm going to throw that in and around some of this here. And then I'm also going to grab, I think I want, let me look at my color chart here. Let's do my Daniel Smith phthalo green. I think that would be really pretty. Phthalo green is going to be really strong. So I'm going to pull it to the side here to make sure. Yeah, that's pretty. And just kind of dab that in places. So it's kind of looking like I made flowers without actually making flowers. Okay, and then I might go in now with a smaller brush. Definitely going to go in with my round 6 now. And on my round 6, I'm going to add a little bit more purple. I'm just going to go in where I'm missing some stuff and add a little bit more color. Make sure that I'm getting to the edges of the heart. Could use some extra color in there. Down here, looks like I missed a spot with my wet brush, so I'm just going to kind of make that all filled in. And then up here, kind of spread it out a little bit. Okay. All right, now I want gold in this, specifically a metallic gold. So I have this metallic gold here from Sennelier that I just used for a video, and it's a pretty nice gold, and I need to use it off this palette. So I'm going to re-wet it and really try to get my brush covered in gold pigment, and then just kind of go in and tap gold in all along. I'm going to do this a couple times because I really want this to kind of be gold all over. Yeah, see, that's really got a pretty mica shine. And I know for a fact that this one doesn't move so much. So I like that it doesn't move as much as the other watercolor so that I can get some nice pops of gold kind of all along in here. Okay, and I may, down here towards the bottom, just take a thirsty brush. Do you guys know what that is? Where you just take a dry brush, sop up a little bit of that excess water. Do it 1 or 2 more times down here, just so we're not getting too in the weeds. Kind of bring it back to wherever that initial color was there. One more time up here. There we go. And now, last but not least, a little bit more gold. And then we're going to outline this whole thing in gold. So if you're worried it's not a metallic enough situation, don't worry too much because we're going to outline the whole heart in gold. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. That's looking really nice up there. And now we're going to go ahead and we are going to do the other 2 on the other side. So while those dry on the other side, I kind of need to decide what kind of ice cream I want here. So I'm thinking that I want something that's maybe like a berry color, and then maybe something that is like a white with some strawberries in it, like a strawberries and cream situation. So on the top, I'm going to do more of like a berry color. So I'm going to take this really pretty cobalt violet that we have, and I am going to go in and paint the top one, this cobalt violet. Now that looks really dark, so I'm just going to continue to bring water into it, and I'm going to just blend it out the whole way across. You can use a smaller brush if you want. Matter of fact, I may switch to a smaller brush here at some point. But I definitely wanted this top one to have a really pretty color. And I really like that color. All right, so yeah, I'm going to pull this down into the drips like so. Just like that. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of the color that's here and kind of outline the cone with it. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. Just like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect because, again, it's just an ice cream cone. Now we're going to let that dry before we do that second layer in strawberries and cream. I'm going to do the cone while I'm at it. So I have a yellow ochre color here, I think it is. Yeah, this is a yellow ochre that looks a lot like an ice cream cone color. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. You could always mix a color, but again, use the paints that you have. This might be a little bit tan for an ice cream cone, so I may go back in and make this a little bit more brown, but we'll see, because I do want there to be some contrast when I do like the little cross hatches in a minute. Which you wouldn't have to do. You could just do this color and have it be done. So we're going to just do that yellow ochre color. Put it on the side here because I am going to add to it in a second here. Yeah, just like that. And there's my ice cream cone. Okay, so now I'm going to take that color and I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber to it. Get that darker tan. And then I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to go in around the edges. I'm going to do a little darker color around the edges. And you could not do this step if you just wanted to do one flat color. Again, depends on where your skill level is at. And I know when I started painting, I would have not wanted to try this step if I liked the way it looked. So I'm just going to do that. It's going to give me some differentiation. And then I'm going to sit and I'm going to let that dry. So whilst I let that dry, and I just don't like, this needs blended just a little more. I'm going to let it dry a little bit. I'm not going to let it dry completely because I would like to go in and give a little bit of cross hatching on my cone, but I'm going to let it dry somewhat. And while that dries a little bit, I'm going to do a ranunculus here. So you could do a rose like we did up there if you wanted to do a rose here, but I like a ranunculus because I think it's a pretty easy flower that most everybody can achieve. So in order to make a nice ranunculus, I like to have a nice orange color and a nice sappy green or spring green if you want. So I'm going to take this sap green and I'm actually going to mix it right here with this yellow ochre so that it's a nice like green gold color. I might add a little more sap green to it. Yeah, you want something that's kind of like this color, like a very yellow green color to start with. And then you're just going to take a brush and you are going to go right into the center and you're going to make tiny circles with the tip of your brush. Okay, something that kind of looks like that. Okay, and then from there, you are going to grab your orange color, and I'm going to use quinacridone sienna. That is my favorite orange for this. And I am running out of spots on my palette, so let me rub that one off real quick. Let's make a space here. I need to be better about, look how many blue-green piles I have. I'm not the greatest at managing my palettes very wisely here. All right, so now I'm going to take that quinacridone sienna color, and I pretty much want it straight. Yeah, look how beautiful that is. And we're just going to make little circles around that, and we're going to start in the center, and you do want it to touch a little bit. It's going to get a little bit muddy in there, and that's okay. You want it to be really bright in the center, and then you're just going to put water on your brush and kind of pull it out and make your strokes a little bit more filled with water as you go around. At this stage, we can even add a tiny bit of cadmium yellow if you want to what you're doing here to make it a little bit lighter like that. And then, like I said, water your brush down quite a bit so that you're not pulling so much pigment up. And you just keep going out, out, out like that. And that's it. That's basically how I do a ranunculus. I don't get too worried about it being perfect. I think the looser it is, the more fun it looks. And then in the center, I'm just going to make sure that that green bleeds out nicely. I might even go back in with the green and kind of touch in, because it should look a little bit muddy, not crazy muddy, but a little bit muddy like that. And then when I step back and look at it, I realize, okay, I maybe need just like another couple little strands down there to make it totally centered. There we go. And that's my flower. You could have done a rose there. I just really like the ranunculus. All right. Up here, we're still feeling pretty wet. So I'm going to wait on that. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and get a purple color going on here. So we just want to add some little buds of flowers. You could do blue or purple. I am going to do purple just because I really like it. This color is another really pretty mauve color that I have. So we're going to use that, and maybe even we'll mix them together. Let's see what happens when we do that. Oh, that's really pretty. Okay, and I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to do tiny, actually, I'm going to take my round 4 because I want a smaller brush for this. And I am going to just make some tiny little buds of flowers. Just tiny little guys that kind of look like wispy little flowers. They aren't too serious, and they just kind of melt into the picture. And you kind of want to cluster them in groups of either 2 or 3. Like that. Maybe a couple that are coming out down here. Maybe, nope, you know what? That's good, because now I'm actually going to go back in and I might do a rosebud. I really, really like this color of rose that we made. Let me see if I can get something similar here. And then I might just go in and do like a tiny little rosebud here. That is too dark. We're going to pick some of that up. Actually, that's like that. That's better. And I'm just going to use clean water now to go in and finish that up as what I wanted it to be. There we go. Which is a rosebud. And maybe one more rosebud. Maybe one more that is, I'm trying to think if I want another one or not. Because we're going to have everything coming down here. So, yeah, maybe right here. And again, I really want it to be much lighter. So there we go. There's that. And I may even lift a little bit more color off of that guy too. Like that. And then for the rosebuds, I am going to add a little bit of, I'm going to take a sap green, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of color right on the bottoms of them. Again, not getting too much on there. We're going to lift that, because you want them to have a little bit of the idea that they are flowering. So you want them to have a little bit of green, but not so much green. Let me grab one of these to lift a little more of that out. Yeah. Put a little bit more yellow back in there. There we go. You want them to have a little bit of blending, but not a crazy amount. There we go. There we go. right, so let's go ahead and oh, now we should be ready to do this. So let's go ahead and add some of this yellow ochre to whatever this brown pile is that I have here. You just want to mix a darker brown color that's kind of pretty close to burnt umber. Like, here's a burnt umber color. You could just use burnt umber for this process. I'm just going to take and put some little lines in here to make it look like an ice cream cone. Like that. Again, doesn't have to be anything too crazy or serious. And it may even be that you do that and then you say, okay, now I'm going to let that dry and then I'm going to go back over it so it's not real obvious. But you just kind of want a little bit of an idea of there being those lines on the ice cream cone in there like that. Okay, so let's let all of that dry and then we'll come back and we'll do some more details. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish out this ice cream cone. We are pretty close to the end of everything that I wanted to do here. We're gonna do some greenery here, and then we're gonna do the ice cream cone. I'm gonna use markers to do this, and we're gonna finish this out. So let's start here with the ice cream cone. I'm just gonna get it wet, and then once it's wet, we are bleeding a little bit there. That's okay. Once it's wet, I'm going to use the gray just to make it a little bit of a color. And then we are going to swirl some red in it to look like strawberries and cream. So if anything bleeds too much, we could use white gouache, but I'm really not that worried about it. I am going to get my small brush here. I'm just going to take a tiny bit of this gray color, the smallest bit, and I am going to water it down pretty well because you don't want a lot of it, just enough to make it look like a shadow. Pretty much like that. That looks really good. And you could do any color. You could have just done a color of ice cream. If you wanted to do chocolate, you could have done brown. I just didn't want this card to be too brown because it's a Mother's Day card. So for me, just kind of doing the outline in gray, like where the shadow would be from the top ice cream, and then a little bit in the drips. And we may go in with a white gel pen after this to deal with the drips too. And I'm just going to take this puddle of red that I had here, and I'm just going to do like little tiny spots of the red. And then I may use water to just pull those out. Trying to make it look like strawberries and cream ice cream. And then we're going to swirl just kind of like that a little bit. Because I don't want it to be so perfect because you know that's not how ice cream works, right? So kind of like that where it's a little bit white and a little bit red. There we go. And that's looking good. That's like kind of the idea I wanted there for some strawberries and cream ice cream. Another spot or two, maybe something like that. I may pull a little bit of that back. There we go. So that it looks like strawberries all the way around. And we'll go in with another color later on that. So now let's go to my bouquet, and I'm going to go ahead and go into some greens here. So I've got, let's see, I'm going to go straight into permanent green, which is this one right here. It's a very greeny green. And I'm going to just put it in this brown to darken it up just a little bit so it looks more like the stem of a tulip. And then I'm just going to drag it right under my tulips. Here, we're just going to kind of create a bouquet. And tulips just kind of have that stem that sits on the base and comes down. So we're just going to do that one. And then this one's going to come down at a little bit of a different angle so that it's more like this here. So that's one series of stems. Now I'm going to do my tiny stems, so we'll move to around 4. And for that one, let's go ahead and use the Perline Green, which is a favorite color of mine. I love Daniel Smith Perline Green. If you don't have a color that's kind of similar to this, it's a really dark, dark green. You can always mix like a hooker's green with a dioxazine purple, and it makes a really pretty version of this color. So I'm just going to kind of go ahead under these little buds, and I'm going to make some more wispy stems like this. And that's going to help me kind of fill out what's going on down here. We are going to go back and put some buds in here too at some point. And this one coming down this way. We'll pull these ones a little bit more to the right, like they're going to come down this direction. And they're going to end up going this way a little bit more. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just kind of making it look like a bouquet that's getting gathered together. And these ones kind of came down, and where did they go? We're going to kind of put them over here somewhere. And then up here, I'm just going to put some little leaves in. Nothing crazy, just some little leaves. That's the beauty of loose watercolor florals. You can kind of make them do whatever you want them to do. Now, for the roses, I used sap green. So I'm going to follow that through. I had put that there, and I'm just going to kind of put it back in, follow it down so that it comes down into here. This one, I'm going to maneuver that a little bit so it's coming more this direction. And then the big rose that we have here, we're going to have that stem kind of coming down here. So we just kind of have a bunch of stems. Now, off the big rose, I do want to do a few leaves coming this direction. So I'm just going to do something like this. And we're just going to put a few big leaves coming off of this guy. Nothing too serious, but just it's a big flower, so that kind of looks nice. If there's a few leaves coming off of it, I think that looks really pretty. And then last but not least, we have the ranunculus, or the peony. My goodness, the peony. So I'm going to do let's see, what color do I want to do there? Let's do the Viridian, and I'm going to mix it with something. So here's that's not Viridian. This one's Viridian. And I'm going to mix my Viridian with mauve to kind of dull it down into this like really pretty color. It's almost like a eucalyptus color. But I love that color. We're going to kind of put that inky stem coming down this way. And we might do a few like wispy ideas of stems there. Nothing crazy. And then maybe with this same color, I'm going to do a few stems of just leaves that kind of come up like this and have some little buds that are coming off of it, just kind of sprouting out at crazy angles like you would have on a bouquet of flowers like that. And then we'll just stick some leaves, some stems coming down this way into here. Nice. Make a little more of this color. No, it's too purple. There we go. this direction. Just like over here. To fill that in just a little bit more. I like that. Yeah, okay, I like that idea. I don't think we need too much else going on these leaves. So now let's do some details on these flowers. So we're going to come back in and I'm going to use the same yellow I used on the roses, and I'm going to put just little like pretend things coming out of my tulips here, like a tulip would have those little buds. And then I'm going to use the same color inside of my peony. Like it's got some little life popping out of it there. And I think that's good for the floral. I think I'm not going to do anything else with that floral guy. It's looking real good. We'll just go in and we will put these on card bases and do the rest of that in a bit. Now over here, back with my ice cream cone, I am going to go back in with my yellow ochre color. And I'm just going to do another layer right over top of everything with my ice cream cone. You don't have to do this. I just think it's going to blend out what I want blended out just a little bit better. And I may even end up using a few colored pencils on this one for the drips, just to make the drips how I want them. But I just think it's going to give that cone a little bit more of the look I wanted. There we go. That's good. And then, yeah, we'll do a couple little adjustments to the drips on that ice cream cone. And we're going to do with the mom. Let's do the outline here. So I'm going to get my same gold that I've been using. I'm going to get it really nice and wet. I could even use, I have this in a tube. The only reason I'm not doing that is because I'm specifically trying to use this up. And I put a lot of the gold on the palette, which is fine. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to outline this in gold. And this is maybe going to take a little bit because I'm going to try to do it really nice and good. If you have Colero paints, I feel like their gold is my favorite gold for outlining. Or Yuli has some nice golds for outlining. Yeah, that's what I wanted, was just a nice thick gold outline on this entire heart. Okay, keep doing that. Like so. And there might be a couple spots here where I need to go over this again. So we're just going to do another coat of gold right on top. Make sure our gold outline looks really nice and thick. All right, and that one is pretty much done. We're going to go ahead and cut that one out, and then we will go from there. Let me go ahead and get some scissors, and this one is going to require some markers. So let me get all of those supplies out, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have the set of Karen Deco Brush metallic permanent markers that I really like using, and I don't get out often enough. So I am going to use one of these on this card here. I think that I will use, let me go ahead, since I did gold on the other card, and I'm going to use silver on this card because this silver brush looks so pretty to write my M's. And part of that is because I know I can kind of control how nice they're going to look with this brush. And that's a little better. I'm not great at lettering. We all know this. If you guys have been around the channel long enough, you know that I'm not too great with lettering. So I want something that's going to look really nice, that I can make look really special. But any marker will do, or you could use paint, or you could use letter stickers here, anything that's going to make it say mom. So that's that. Again, I'm not going to do anything too crazy, because for me, lettering is one of the hardest parts of this. So if I were doing it, that's how I would leave it. Maybe sharpen up my little V there on the mom. But yeah, I like that. So that is what we're going to do there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut everything apart, get some card bases out, and we will start. I might do a little bit on that ice cream cone. Actually, we're going to get out a white gel pen for that. All right, so I got my Uni Posca pen out here that I often use for white highlights, and I'm just going to go around the base of some of this ice cream and get this drip to kind of stand out a little bit more. Both of these white drips down here so that they look a little more white, and then we'll go ahead and put some little marks on them like that. Just some little spots where there might be. A little bit more white towards the bottom here. Okay, and then I'm going to take a purple. See if I can find a good purple match here. That is not going to do it. This one might. Actually, really good. And I'm just going to highlight some of the drips here in the same kind of way. Nothing crazy, and you don't have to do this, but you can, because there's not really rules about playing with mixed media like that. Okay, and then just gonna fan it out a little bit so it's not so obvious. It's good. All right, I think now we're gonna cut everything out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here are our 4 cards. So we have just the generic mom card. Like I said, you could zhuzh this up. You could make it on a colored base. I'm just picking off a piece there. But you could maybe not do the shiny metallics, but it's just a really basic, neat idea to be pretty quick. This one I am going to write on, these two. This one, you could just write Happy Mother's Day or whatever sentiment you want. Could be a thinking of you card. I'm actually not going to write on this one. I really like how this simple little floral bouquet turned out. It's nothing really complicated, but I think that if you are trying for loose florals, this is a really nice arrangement to do something really easy and beautiful. So there's those 2 cards. For these 2 cards, we're going to write some sentiments on them. And you all know that I am not the best at writing on cards, but we're going to give it a go here. So I'm going to use my favorite brush pen, and I'm actually going to use the Pentel Touch, and I'm going to use a gray just because I like the gray for this particular card. So underneath here, I am going to write, and I'm sorry, I have to do it at an angle, but I would write the sweetest. You're the sweetest, Mom. And then I'm going to put a heart because I didn't do it centered. But yeah, you're the sweetest. And you could just write you're the sweetest on it. You could put it on the inside. It's just a cute little card with ice cream on it. And I think that's really nice. This one, I'm going to write, let me pick a different color. All right, this time I'm going to use one of the Arteza brush nib markers. I really like these as well. And here I'm going to write you've got a heart of gold. So I just like that. And again, I'm not even going to put mom on it, but you could put mom on it. And it says you've got a heart of gold because you have a heart and there's all these little gold metallic flecks. Super easy card. And I think a super cute little sentiment on it. So yeah, those are my 4 easy ideas for Mother's Day that don't all center around florals. 2 of them have floral components, but you could make these cards for any time of the year, and they would be nice thinking of you cards for somebody, save for this one that's kind of a mom specific card, I guess, though you could do it with lots of different letters, or you could simply look at these other 3. So these are my ideas. I hope that this was helpful and fun and you enjoy watching these card making videos. Which one is your favorite and which one would you make for the special lady in your life? I would love to know all of that in the comments below. And that's going to be it for me today. I hope that this inspires you to send somebody a handmade card today, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.